How do you run your household? How do you run your household? Famous therapist James Hillman refers to the boarding house analogy, where you have different guests that come into the boarding house. And they come and they go, of all different sizes and different shapes. I think of a household like a company. A company, the word company means kompan, which means breaking bread. A place where we break bread together. When you run a household or run a company, similar to a board of directors and a C-suite, I think of myself as the CEO. I'm the head of the household. I'm there to provide direction. I'm there to make decisions when other people can't. I'm providing a culture of consent, which is they get to choose. They get to choose how they want to contribute. My role is to confront the freedom of my teenagers. Confront their freedom means they get to choose how they want to contribute, how they want to be part of that household. It doesn't come without responses to them. If they have contributions that aren't what I'm expecting, well, then we're going to have a conversation. Every week there's a family meeting. In that family meeting, we talk about what we appreciate about each other. We make sure that we have clear expectations on me time, us time, friends time, alone time. And then there's duties, just like taking care of anything. When we participate in an organization or company or community, there are actions that are called upon us. There are tasks that are called upon us to contribute. We owe our colleagues, we owe our team members our excellence. Excellence is what you do in the next 5 minutes. So in my household, conscientiousness is important. Do it well. Put it back where it was. Don't leave it out and wait for the other person to get it. Don't have assumptions that because you didn't leave it out, then you're not responsible for putting it back. Do what is needed of you. Do what is needed of you. So in our household, we have 4 habits, and they are do what you say, finish what you start, be on time, and always say please and thank you. I think of those habits as how you build practical and emotional trust. If I'm going to put my trust in you, if I'm going to put my well-being in your hands, then please demonstrate those habits. And so there's a CEO and there's a COO. And the COO, much like someone who backs up the CEO, aligns with the CEO, runs the operational side, makes sure that the quality control of the house is there, makes sure that the environment is orderly and cleanly, makes sure that protocols are followed and understood, and runs the backstage, essentially, runs the operation. Make sure that the bills are paid, make sure that the administration is done, and then somewhere in between, we're both the CFO. We distribute those responsibilities by choice. Some of the cash handling and things are handled by the COO, and the financial decisions and injections or investments are made by myself. What we are not is we're certainly not an insane asylum. I know that. But like any organization, top grading becomes important. Top grading means that you seat yourself or suit yourself to put the best support structures in place and put the support systems around you. And that means that when you're running an organization, the people matter, and then the strategy matters, and the process matters. And because people matter, we have to hold standards to the kind of leadership, behavior, performance traits. What we occupy in our home and the energy that we occupy in our home requires us to be screening that kind of energy. And so we've made clear the core values that we will never compromise, just like the core values of a company. We have a clear mission. We have a vision of the kind of family that we want to become and create. And that We hold dear some convictions about being true and being safe to tell the truth. We practice the creative process at home. In the kitchen is a great domain for us to learn how to make successful mistakes in making foods and figuring things out. We distribute responsibility because responsibility is taken. It's not given to you. So when you do something, you take responsibility for it. You take ownership of how you contributed to the issue. In terms of empowerment and empowering people inside, it's about the possibility conversation of who you want to become and what the purpose of your career or leadership is at this time. What I intend to create for my kids is for them to do what they love and love what they do, and let them find their way and help them find their way by providing a good system for finding their way of values and principles. But make no mistake about it, the role modeling is most important. As a head of household, as a COO of this company, I uphold the strongest standards as to what I put around my family. And it's been difficult. We've had difficult challenges with friends and family members who just don't have the role description qualities of what we would consider to be part of our system. When you're in a company, you have to be mindful of who goes to work and who's around you and who you depend on for help. You have a screening process to do so. You have to look at their background and resumes, and you have to look at people's potential. And you have to basically water weeds in order to weed the garden. Sometimes you actually have to rely on people who can't be reliable. Yeah, you can't know until you do it. We've had contractors, for example, that we thought were great. And you water a weed, and you realize they are one, and then you have to weed the garden. Sometimes you can't always know until you try. And so it's not always going to work. Not every time in a company you're going to predict future performance. And you can only be so accurate. And then your gut and your intuition may kick in at some point. But you'll know. And so our motto is cultivate your lilies and cut your leeches. And know clearly the kind of traits and personalities and the kind of complementary strengths that you'd like to have around you, because you're a creator. And as a creator, a predominant creative force in your life, your relationships and the necklace that you put around you are some of the most important energy qualities in your life. That is your emotional battery bar. The quality of energy in your life is just as important, if not more, than the quantity of energy, the physical energy in your life. So emotional vampires don't get in my home. Narcissists don't get in my home. They're not around me. So I require a good, high, moral, ethical standard of people that come around me in my home. And there certainly is a test to pass, because my compassion is of the highest and protection is of the highest to uphold the values as a CEO of my household. I take that most seriously. And that's made me some enemies. That's made me encounter some very difficult, assertive moments that others don't necessarily like. But if you can't stay authentic and you can't stay true to what you stand for and what you want to create and what you'll never compromise, then you might as well just fold up shop and just be agreeable with everything. Being a CEO of a household isn't always about being agreeable. It's about having some sense of alignment. When you build shared vision with people, you try to come to some sort of third-person understanding. So with my family system and my secondary family system, of course, our primary family is our house. Our secondary is parents, grandparents, cousins, these things. You come to terms with what you clearly want. And just because, someone is family does not force you into compliance that everything that they do and everything that they behave with is going to work. That would be a total waste of the point. And so you're going to make enemies out of stating or drawing a line and standing for some values and standards and principles that matter for the sake of what you really want. And the piece is that you come to terms with that, and that you hold steady into that compass. And it makes all the difference. It just does. And you hold steady toward a better future. You hold steady toward those guiding ideas, as they say, those governing ideas. So think about, if you're the head of the household or you're part of a household, you might ask yourself some questions like, what kind of family system or environment do I want to be a part of? What would make me proud if I look back on this time in my life as to how I would organize it, what I would do to position it? What am I willing to sacrifice? What am I willing to sacrifice or put at risk for the sake of my deepest values and aspirations? What is standing in need of me as a participant and citizen of this family who wants to be here by consent? What is standing in need of me? And what do we want to create as a unified front? What do we want to create as a family? How can I serve and how can I help? How can I best contribute to this system? And where do I need help? Where do I need support? What are my emotional needs? And do other people know my personal user's manual in my family as to what would be the right buttons to push, how to communicate with me, how to take me out and play with me, how to handle emergencies with me, how to handle stressful situations with me? We could all be a little clearer about what to expect. And so what does getting help mean and what does giving help mean? And then there's that part of us that just knows what's right, that knows that the wisdom in us is also a great source of guidance. If we always keep our heart open and we're here to serve and add value, that we're here to add value to those that are near and dear to us. And so we have to remember who we are and what is the purpose of the leadership in our home for this time. I think these are some of the most sacred questions that we can answer. And they'll shape all sorts of decisions. Do you have dinners together, or are you on your screens? Do you have digital dopamine that is tempting you away in your house? What are your afflictions? What are your addictions? Is there abuse in your home? Is it an environment that's safe? Is there a rudder in the water in a good direction? How do you want to be known? And do you speak your authentic voice? Do you speak from a place of truth, unmarked, untrimmable? Or do you speak from a place of artificiality in how you want other people to see you? Do you try to get the kids that you lead to conform to a set of practices that are other than themselves? Or do you create a non-violating space for them to be of themselves and to feel it's okay to be naked and true, to come out and to be who they are? So the kind of environment that you create, you can either inspire fear or you can inspire love. But make it safe and take the risk out of taking risks in your home. So maybe you've got some thinking to do. Maybe you've got some considerations to make about this creative process in your life. Maybe you have an avid and future pursuit of what this means. Maybe it is time to take this dream seriously. Maybe it is time to take a fearless inventory of what is really true, what it is that you have, and maybe how grateful you are for the family and the reality of what you do have, not what you don't. And maybe there's a part in you that has that acceptance, that accepting heart of where things actually are, to be grateful to the puzzles that you've been given. The conflicts and challenges are really messy therapy, but they're really great battles and puzzles for you to grow and to expand your leadership as you lead this household. What house am I living in? Am I living in the old house of my hurts and pain of my parents and I'm bringing them into the present? Or am I living in a new house, a house of belonging that I intend to create, that is of my own answers, that is of my own making and my own aspirations? Thank you.